Hi, everybody, and welcome to another edition of The Greatest Things Ever Said, where I find something profound and brilliant that someone said and unpack it a bit. And this time I've gone for John Milton, a wonderful line. He says, I cannot praise a fugitive and cloistered virtue, unexercised and unbreathed, that never sallies out and sees her adversary, but slinks out of the race where the immortal garland is to be run for. Now that's quite a lot to unpack. I'll tell you what it means. The cloistered virtue is about untested virtue, and you may have heard it said in another format where virtue untested is no virtue at all. You may have heard it said like that, but it comes from Milton. It's from his Areopagitica, which is, I think, the best book ever written on free speech and freedom of expression, where Milton lays down the edict about the necessity of having a free press and the liberty to not be silenced or censored, and the wisdom that people who try to impede the freedom of expression in others harm themselves too. It's one of the great observations because they rob themselves of the ability to hear and to think. And I think that observation is one of the most profound and perceptive in the history of prose. Um, but we know about untested virtue. We know this to be true of many things in life. The don't be surprised to realize that we're all potential thieves, murderers, and violent people waiting to happen if only the conditions were brought to bear on our situation. We could all find ourselves in situations that test us or change us beyond what we can imagine. And what's being implied in Milton is something really acutely perceptive with his cloistered virtue. It's fairly easy for most people to behave quite decently when they're under no pressure or when fear of the law curbs their instincts for misbehaving. But it's much harder and much more commendable when somebody faces the toughest challenges, yet still comes away exhibiting goodness and kindness, without the illusion that we are really all equally quite decent within the thin social contract that keeps us just about united in our aims, or more united than we would be without ever being subjected to external pressure strong enough to significantly change our behavior for the worst. I think we would be doing many more bad things than we currently do. And of course, we know from the psychological experiments of Zimbardo and Milgram, famously, how reprehensible people can be when they put in conditions that allow them the freedom to treat others beyond what they would do in normal society. So it's a brilliant quote. I cannot praise a fugitive and cloistered virtue, unexercised and unbreathed, that never sallies out and seeks her adversary, but slinks out of the race where that immortal garland is to be run for. In other words, don't perceive virtue frivolously when that person's never been tested, because it's easy to be virtuous when we're not put under any test or scrutiny. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and catch up next time. Please do subscribe if you like, and it really helps the platform. So thank you, and we will see you soon.